Welcome, everyone, across the globe. My name is Linda Hummel. I'm the Director of Leprosy Research Initiative, and it is my huge pleasure to welcome all of you to the highlights of the LRI Spring Event online meeting. And I do that on behalf of LRI's partners because LRI is a unique joint initiative. The partners are the backbone of this initiative, and they cannot be appreciated enough. Live and virtual. The LRI Spring Meeting was held in April here in the Netherlands. It was valuable and energizing, and I wish you could all have been here. Nearly 100 attendees from 25 countries came together. And these attendants have a shared purpose, ending leprosy. It's so good to spend time together with global colleagues if you have a shared purpose. The meeting is an important event for presenting and discussing progress and results from LRI-funded research projects, and the researchers who presented received many questions and valuable feedbacks. And as one of the attendants said, it's a powerful forum with a very talented and committed group of people. So today we share highlights with you, and I'm very happy that through this meeting we can reach out across the globe virtually to reach even more talented and committed people, and reach out to you to connect around that shared purpose that we have. Policy influencing and WHO. Special at this year's spring meeting was a very large delegation of WHO, and this is significant to me because based on models and WHO strategy, we know that we are at the beginning of the end of the road to zero leprosy. And it's very exciting to be part of that road, but it's not always the easiest, this end game. And it needs your knowledge and research that fits this phase specifically in this end game. What is particularly important is that our research informs policy and practice, that the evidence from your work is used to better support people affected by leprosy and to accelerate on that road to zero leprosy. Impact and capacity strengthening. There are two other important elements of LRI's work that I would like to highlight: impact and capacity strengthening. We work hard to increase the impact of the research we fund and facilitate. And today you will hear more about the work that we've done to continue increasing the impact of the research projects from LRI's Chrysa. We also work hard to increase research capacity. So I'm pleased that one of the presentations in this online meeting is from the capacity strengthening call. I wish you an hour of very good spring spirits, and please enjoy the great representation of different countries: Nepal, Côte d'Ivoire, India, Nigeria, Maldives, and Ethiopia, as well as the disciplines in leprosy research. I thank you for your contributions in pursuing a world without leprosy and wish you all success with your great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda, for opening this event. My name is Suzan Trienekens. I'm the coordinator of the Leprosy Research Initiative, and I would like to welcome you all to this event. We're very excited that more than 150 people registered to be here today from many different countries all over the world. And please, can I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat? Let us know who you are, where you work, and where are you based. Just wanted to share apologies from Dr. Richard Truman, who could not be here today due to unforeseen circumstances. And I will be moderating the progress presentations for you. So for the progress presentations of the LRI funded projects, we have 10 minutes per presentation. And after that, you have 10 minutes to ask your questions to the presenter. You can ask these in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And you can also upvote some questions by giving them a thumbs up. This is a reminder also that this event is being recorded. And then I give the floor to Chrysa Menexi of the LRI Secretariat, who will present on the impact of LRI-funded projects.
Yes, thank you, Suzan. Welcome everyone to the highlights of the LRI Spring Meeting. My name is Chrysa Menexi. and I'm the LRI support officer. And today I'm going to talk to you about the impact of research projects funded by LRI on behalf of Margot Spelde, the LRI research intern who undertook this project. So Leprosy Research Initiative, in case you're not familiar with it, or LRI for short, is a collaborative venture to boost scientific research in leprosy and sprang from years of declining available funds for leprosy research and scattered funding opportunities. Our vision is a world free from leprosy, and we're working towards that by funding high-quality leprosy research through the annual calls for proposals, strengthening research capacity in endemic countries, and facilitating translation of research results in policy and practice. So, since the foundation of LRI in 2013, over 80 projects have been funded across more than 20 countries, and more than €1 billion have been allocated to research projects. So in line with our third objective, we would like to better understand the impact generated from the completed LRI-funded projects. And what do we mean by research impact? Just for everyone to have a common understanding, research impact is an identifiable benefits to or positive influence on the economy, society, public policy or services, health, the environment, quality of life, or academia. And some of the reasons to evaluate research impact involve showcasing the research's value to funders, stakeholders, and the wider public, understanding how research impact is achieved in order to maximize it, and providing evidence-based arguments for enhanced research funding. So to evaluate the research impact that was generated through completed LRI-funded projects, we deployed a research impact assessment. So the questions that guided this research impact assessment revolve around identifying the generated impact and identifying barriers and facilitators for generating the research impact. To address the two research questions, a sequential mixed methods approach was used, involving 3 data collection methods, with the first one being a document analysis of final reports. And to provide some context here, when a project is completed, a final report has to be submitted within 3 months of completion to LRI. So 41 of these final reports have been analyzed. Then a survey was filled in by 23 principal investigators and delved deeper into the research impact of the projects. And finally, in-depth interviews with 6 principal investigators took place, providing some more insights into the barriers and facilitators that the researchers experience in generating research impact. So just a small note, you can, if you're unsure where the data derive from, you can just refer to these small icons you can see on the screen that will give you some guidance throughout the presentation. A conceptual framework was created specifically for this research impact assessment in our organization's context, adapted from existing ones that they have been widely used in health research and are also validated. So what's important to highlight here are the 4 domains of research impact, which are namely the research-related impact, policy-related impact, health-related impact, and the societal-related impact, which we'll discuss later in the presentation as well. So the analysis of the 41 reports of the completed projects indicated that more than half of the projects funded were focused in Asia, followed by those that they were based in Africa. More projects were funded in research priorities of disability and stigma and discrimination, and the least in transmission. And as you can see, also a majority of projects received funding within the range of €50,000 to €150,000, but there have been a few cases where the funding exceeded the 500,000 euros mark. So regarding the research-related impact domain, the majority of projects published peer-reviewed articles, and the number of publications per project ranges, but 2 to 3 publications per project is the most common frequency. 17 projects led to other research projects, some of which were submitted again to LRI for consideration for funding. All projects improve research capacity of the research team, and 20 contributed to capacity strengthening of local personnel. Regarding policy-related impact, 8 projects have actively influenced international and governmental policies or guidelines, with project contributions spanning a diverse spectrum, and you can see a few examples on your screen. And 7 projects provided input into healthcare facility policies or guidelines. Now, for a health-related impact, 15 projects contributed to designing or implementing new health services, and 10 of them contributed to lower stigma and discrimination against persons affected, which falls under the societal-related impact domain. Now, to provide you some more concrete examples of impact that LRI-supported projects had across research priorities, we have drawn a few examples from the document analysis and provide them in this slide. So as you can see, one example is the SARI stigma reduction interventions and the SARI stigma scale, which is a reliable and culturally valid tool for assessing stigma among persons affected. The molecular viability assay, which is available for tracking treatment progress, confirming suspected relapse cases, and assessing the effectiveness of new leprosy drugs in clinical trials. A scale for assessing leprosy severity that has been validated and also included in the WHO's technical guidance. And the People Project, which produced practical evidence for increased leprosy risk within a certain radius of an index case, population level effectiveness of SDR-PEP, and also the fact that the SDR did not lead to rifampicin-resistant mutants in subsequent cases of leprosy or TB. So regarding the research question 2, which focuses on identifying the barriers and facilitators in generating research impact, there are 4 categories that have been identified through the interviews, which will be discussed shortly. So firstly, the interviewees noted that the process of initiating communication with the government is perceived as a barrier. However, in cases where governmental representatives were involved throughout the study, this served as an advantage for later implementation of findings or policies. The researchers emphasized the importance of working together with a common goal within the research team, encompassing different backgrounds and disciplines. However, some difficulties may also arise due to these differences. Including persons affected by leprosy and the community in the study process is a facilitator for generating research impact, as it increases the acceptability of the intervention or services. And the interviewees also indicated that offering free leprosy or other dermatological healthcare for participants can be a facilitator as well, as it works as an incentive for their participation. So lastly, the interviewees also emphasized the role that LRI can play in influencing the generated research impact through careful selection of projects and cultivating ownership and accountability among the research team. And regarding monitoring, not all domains of impact are being captured in the the current reporting system, as well as impact beyond project completion. And certain impacts may be generated over an extended period of time, which underscores the need for a continued interaction with the researchers. So what we've learned through this research impact assessment is that completed LRI-funded projects yielded numerous and diverse impacts across all impact domains and levels. And there has been some difference between the impacts found through the final reports compared to those found through the survey. And this is because the progress report overemphasizes the research-related impact compared to other domains of impact. And also impact is dynamic, and different levels of impact are manifested in diverse timeframes. It's also noteworthy that there are variations of how impact is being interpreted among the researchers. So some recommendations emerge from this study as well, and researchers can amplify the impact of their project by engaging governmental stakeholders, persons affected, and local communities early in the research process, and by cultivating a collaborative team. And for LRI, it was recommended to prioritize impact throughout the whole life cycle of a research project, establish a consistent definition of research impact, implement a robust mechanism for post-project monitoring to track impact over time, and foster communities of practice among researchers to facilitate collaboration and knowledge sharing and to enhance collective impact. So closing this presentation, I would like to mention that this research impact assessment has been very insightful, and we as LRI are striving to improve our processes to better support researchers in generating great impact through their projects. And of course, this is an iterative process, and we value feedback. So if you have any questions, remarks, or input, please send us an email in the email address you see at the bottom of the screen. And thank you very much for your attention. So without further ado, we can move to the project presentations. So we will start with Mr. Karthikeyan Govindasamy from the Leprosy Mission Trust India. We are very curious to hear all about your project.
Thank you, Chrysa. Thank you for this opportunity. I hope I'm clear. My voice is clear. I'm Karthik from Leprosy Mission Trust India. On behalf of all the investigators listed in this slide, I'm presenting the research project titled Removable Offloading Device versus Total Contact Cost to Promote Healing of Plantar Ulcers in Leprosy. This is a multi-centric, non-inferiority, randomized controlled trial. I have organized my presentation under these headings. Just introduction to my research. Plantar ulcer is a common complication. Leprosy is also a very severe complication because it has a recurrent nature, often neglected within the leprosy and least studied as compared to other complications in leprosy, such as lepra reactions. In terms of burden, it is estimated that over 30% of patients with insensitive feet will present with ulcer at any point. If you enter any leprosy hospitals, over 50% of hospital admissions and bed days are placed for ulcer care. That is 1 in 2 patients you see probably will be there for ulcer care. We know that the continuous plantar pressure is a reason for ulcer and also is a reason for delays in the ulcer healing. The best thing that we can do for ulcer patient is to give complete bed rest, but which is practically not possible. The gold standard to rest in leprosy is usually the providing total contact cost. However, to apply the total contact cost, we need a considerable skills and requires a constant monitoring because it can produce some unfavorable outcomes such as skin abrasions in the bony prominence in the median, the lateral malleolus, or the anterior part of the leg. And there is a loss of expertise in applying the plaster in leprosy field. We are continuously losing the people who have these skills. So there is a need for the alternative. The removable walker boot is the potential alternative, which works the same way as the total contact cost, but it is removable. Therefore, the objective of this research is to compare the total contact cost and removable offloading device to heal non-complicated plantar ulcers in epilepsy. Methodology is this is a multi-centric, non-inferiority randomized control trial. This trial is being implemented in the 3 large tertiary hospitals of the Leprosy Mission Trust India, 1 in West Bengal, and 2 in the North India, 1 in Uttar Pradesh and Delhi. This trial was registered before the commencement of the recruitment. The trial was registered in the Clinical Trial Registry of India. We estimated the sample size of 150, 75 in each group. The study duration was June 2022 to November 2024. In the control arm, patient will receive the current standard of care, that is total contact cost with window, where there is ulcer. We provide the window to facilitate the ulcer healing. In the intervention group, we take the soft insole and we cut out the part which comes in direct contact with the ulcer, and we put this insole inside the boot so that patient can walk. When he walks, there is no pressure over the ulcer area. This is the intervention that we're giving in the study. And this slide shows the study flow. We screen patients with non-complicated plantar ulcers, and we screen for the eligibility. Once they are eligible, we take the consent, and then we do the baseline assessment, which consists of demographic data and clinical data related to leprosy and disability. And then we take a complete detail of ulcer metrics in terms of size. We take pictures, and also we measure the quality of life. Then the patient is randomly allocated to either in the control group, where he will receive the current standard of treatment, that is total contact cost with window, or to the intervention group, where they will receive the removable walker boot with offloading facility. And then we do the follow-up. We do every week follow-up. We measure the ulcer metrics weekly. Also, we measure the user satisfaction with the intervention that we are given. That is done at the end of the when the patient exits from the trial. And then we did the quality of life at 6 weeks. Endpoint to this trial is the complete healing of ulcer or completion of 6 weeks of follow-up, whichever is here. Primary outcome is the number of completely healed ulcer at 6 weeks. Secondary primary outcome is the reduction in the ulcer area. Secondary outcome is user satisfaction with the intervention and the functional independence level and the quality of life. But for this progress report, the presentation, I will be presenting the main outcome that is related to the number of completely healed ulcer at 6 weeks. And I'll also present information on the adverse events. And also we will present the additional finding, that is the recurrent ulcer rate, because we have a 6 months of follow-up, which gave us opportunity to measure the recurrent ulcer rate. Progress so far, we have recruited 144 patients out of 150 planned sample size. But in this presentation, we have included only data of 118 patients who were included as on 31st of December 2023. This slide shows the consort diagram. We assessed 333 patients for the eligibility. Of them, we excluded 250 patients. The reason for exclusion was the not meeting the inclusion criteria, and some have declined to participate because they had to get admitted in the hospital, and other reasons being short foot or they had a post-polio result paralysis and so on. And we randomized 118 patients, 59 in each intervention at the control arm. In the intervention arm, of the 59 randomized, 58 received the intervention. 1 did not receive the intervention because the foot was so short and it was not easy for a patient to walk with the removable walker boot. Of the 58, 8 patients were lost to follow-up, and remaining 50 patients completed the follow-up. All of them were included in the analysis. In the control arm, of the 59, 55 patients received the intervention. 4 did not receive the intervention because they were not willing to take the plaster cast. And of the 55, 9 patients were lost to follow-up. 4 patients' ulcer was worsened, so we have to discontinue the intervention. And then 1 patient had a fall, and then 4 patients took early discharge. Remaining 46 completed the study, and they were included in the current analysis. This slide shows the study participant characteristics that are related to the demographic As you can see, 1 in 5 patients included a female, only 1 in 5, that's 20%. The pattern of male-female between the two arms is comparable. The mean age between the two groups is comparable. The majority of patients who are included in the study are from the rural area. Again, these two are comparable. Mean height and weight between the two groups also is comparable. Majority of patients included in the study they were never been to school or studied only up to primary school. And again, the distribution between the two groups is comparable. This slide shows the clinical characteristics of patients. The median duration of disability was 8 years in the removable walker group, and the control group it was 6 years. Again, there is no difference between the two groups. The median EHS score were comparable between the two groups, and the median foot score also comparable between the two. In terms of ulcer site, whether it's right or left, again comparable between the two groups. In terms of ulcer site, whether it is the forefoot, midfoot, or hindfoot, there is no significant difference between the two groups. In terms of ulcer recurrence, majority of patients had recurrent ulcers. The ulcers included in this trial were recurrent ulcers. Again, there is no difference between the two groups. I present the main outcome, that is the percentage of ulcers healed at 6 weeks. This graph in the x-axis shows the two different groups. In the y-axis shows the percentage of ulcers healed. In the in the intervention group, 49% of patients achieved complete healing by 6 weeks, whereas in the total contact cost group, it was 59%. The difference was 10%. The difference was not statistically significant. This is the intention to treat analysis where all the people who were randomized were included in the analysis. This graph shows the per protocol analysis. That is, in this analysis, we have included those who completed the follow-up. Again, in the x-axis shows the treatment group. In the y-axis, the percentage of ulcers healed. In the removable device, 58% of patients ulcer healed, whereas in the total contact cost group, it was 76%. The difference was 18%. Again, the difference was not statistically significant. We can say that the percentage of ulcers healed at 6 weeks between the two groups is comparable. In terms of adverse events, redness and the blister is a common adverse events that we observed. 3 patients in the intervention group, 2 patients in the total contact cost group. Worsening of ulcer was a common event that we saw in the total contact group. When we included them in the study, the ulcer looked simple, but when after application of plaster in a few days or few weeks, the ulcer started becoming worse. When open, it became infected ulcer. It was infected ulcer. And 1 patient in the total contact cost group had a fall. The additional findings, which was not planned as per the protocol, but since we had 6 months of follow-up, we thought we would measure this. Of the 118 patients analyzed in this progress, 89 patients completed the 6 months of follow-up. Of the 89, 15 patients developed recurrent ulcer, 5 in the removed local group and 10 in the total contact group. When we calculate the incidence rate, it was 33 per 100%. Our interim conclusion is the percentage of ulcers healed at 6 weeks is comparable between the removable walker and the total contact group. The redness and blister is a common adverse event observed. Incidence was minimal in the removable walker both group as compared to the total contact cost group. Some of the challenges that we faced, only 20% of patients in the study was females. Recruiting female patients was very challenging. They don't want to get admitted because of the social role that they have. They always wanted to go home. And recruiting patients from outpatients were difficult, although this device can be given in the community. But according to this protocol, they need to get admitted for 6 weeks or till ulcer heals completely. So getting the patients from outpatient department is very challenging. And many patients are not willing to stay towards the end of the trial. When the ulcers become too small, they wanted to go home. That is one reason for the last to follow up. And there are too many festivals here. It is difficult to either recruit them or retain them till the completion of the till patient ulcer is healed. And these are some of the key references. I take this opportunity to thank St. Francis Leprosy Guild and the Leprosy Research Initiative for the generous fund to conduct this research. And also I would like to thank the Leprosy Mission Great Britain and Effective Canada, because they support the core research activities of the Leprosy Mission Trust India, to which we are all supported, and I'm also supported it. And I would like to thank all the participants, all who are in the Zoom, for their patience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for a great presentation. Everybody, please enter your questions in the Q&A box. We have one already from Dr. Tahir. What are the inclusion and exclusion criteria, again, for the study conducted? And maybe you can also explain a little bit why you chose these.
Yeah. The inclusion criteria is patient should be 18 years and above and should have a non-complicated ulcer, that is, patient should have a simple ulcer, which is suitable for the total contact cost, which was determined by the treating physician. That was the inclusion criteria. Exclusion criteria were those with short foot, those with contralateral limb amputation were excluded, and those with vascular compromisation in the foot also were excluded. And if they have a multiple ulcer, where offloading one ulcer compromises the healing of the other ulcer, also were excluded. And these are some of the also, we excluded patients with diabetes. It is not that we cannot give this removable walker boot for the diabetes patients, but according to this protocol, we restricted the study only among patients with leprosy. So that was the reason why we excluded the patients with diabetes as well.
Thank you so much. We have a second question from Herman Joseph Kabuma. How did you manage the comparability of the ulcers? Because different patients have different size ulcers, location, and complications.
Thank you for this wonderful question. So as you've seen, like, we have two outcomes. One is the number of ulcers healed. The second one is the reduction in the ulcer size with respect to the time, which analysis of which I did not show this, because that can be done only when the trial completed. So where we can actually adjust for the ulcer size at the baseline. So all the potential confounders of different sizes, location, all will be taken care of in the final analysis.
Thank you so much. And then we have a question from Jill Dell. Very interesting presentation. Thank you. Have the cost and benefit aspects of both options been compared?
Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful question. Yes, it's possible to study the cost benefit. As of now, we haven't planned for according to this protocol, we haven't planned for the cost effectiveness of this two intervention, but it is possible to do. And we will consider this when we complete our trial. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Does anybody have any other questions for Karthik? You can put them in the Q&A box. We have one from Dr. Wim Brandsma. What about acceptability of the devices? Were there differences in acceptance between males and females?
In this study, we are recording the user satisfaction, which can be taken as a proxy for the acceptability. So that again, we'll do the analysis once we do the once we complete the recruitment and the final analysis. As a matter of fact, actually, we are planning some community-based study using this device, where we are actually measuring the acceptability. For this study, we are measuring in terms of user satisfaction. Thank you, Suzan.
Thank you. We have one more question from Noel Gill. Assuming the final results mirror your interim results, do you consider removable boot cheaper or more expensive than plaster cast? What do you expect for the future? We talked a bit about cost effectiveness, but is there anything else you would like to share?
Again, we can say when we do the analysis perfectly to say which is cheaper. But as of now, it looks using more than cost. The way the mode of use is very simple to use, can be used by anybody with minimal training. In that aspect, removable walker boot is favorable. But again, this all can be done concluded only with the final analysis.
Thank you so much. I think we'll conclude the Q&A here for you. Thank you for your presentation, and best of luck with the remainder of the project. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Julien Ake from Effect Hope for his presentation. Julien.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Julien Ake Associate Director of Coptiment, but for this project, I've been working as a consultant for Ephrem Canada. And this presentation has been prepared jointly with Manish Philip, who is the International Program Director of Ephrem Canada. And the title is People Disabled by NTD-centered Strategy to Improve Access to Socio-economic Rehabilitation Services in Côte. This is the content of the presentation, briefly, background, objective, method, result, and the conclusion. So in terms of background, we know in Côte d'Ivoire that people affected by NTD experience delayed diagnosis and treatment leading to disabilities, and the management of socioeconomic consequences caused by NTD is left behind due to competing priorities for resources and lack of clear demand and influence of persons affected by NTD. So we made the assumption that maybe engaging people disabled by NTD and disabled by people organization may improve in a sustainable manner effectiveness of decision-maker response to the need. So it was a two phases project, a formative phase and an intervention phase. For the formative phase, we have conducted a baseline survey which provided evidence of a need, KAP belief and experience of people disabled by NTD and caregivers. So briefly, in terms of the need identified, we have the need in terms of information related to the right of disabled people, need in terms of employment and self-employment, need of schooling and training, need of healthcare, physical rehabilitation, and psychosocial support. And we also, in terms of experience, the study revealed that many disabled people experience stigma and they even don't know very well where they can orient themselves once they have been disabled by the entities. And many of them, about 75%, do not know the regulation protecting disabled people. So based on those information coming out the baseline study, we moved to the second phase of the intervention. The second phase of the project, which was the intervention phase, and the objective is to test the benefits and challenges of selected intervention, to mobilizing people affected by NTD, to enhancing the access to psychosocial, physical, and economic rehabilitation services. So it has consisted in developing a strategy based on the finding and recommendation of the baseline study in a participatory approach with people disabled by NTDs. And we tested this strategy for a period of 12 months at the beginning, but finally we got an extension for about 5 months to conduct the implementation stage. So the implementation phase consisted in implementing the activities selected by the disabled people, monitoring and evaluation. And the beneficiaries of this phase was first a scientific committee member. The scientific committee member, which was like the first body supervising the implementation of the project. And we have also a project management team set. Third, we have a regional coordination unit. This was especially managed by the NTD disabled people. And finally, the general population of the region of Beke, where we conducted this intervention phase. And this is the map of the area where we conducted the project. It is in West Africa, in a country which is called Côte d'Ivoire. And within this country, we selected the region of Beke, which is composed of 6 health districts with a population more than 1 million, and which is endemic for leprosy, borrelial cell lymphatic filariasis, psychiasis, and schistosomiasis, and YOS. So in terms of result, the strategy which has been developed in a participatory approach involving NTD-disabled people, NTD program people, COPTIMEN over NGOs, mental health program in Côte d'Ivoire, Ministry of Justice. It has been selected about 49 activities, share within 14 strategic objectives. And the strategy had 4 pillars. The first pillar was advocacy and awareness raising to improving access to physical, psychosocial, educational, and economic rehabilitation services. The second was to fight stigma and promoting respect of the right of people disabled by NTDs. Third was the promotion of mutual support between people disabled by NTD. And the last one was to strengthen the organizational capacities of disabled people association to enable them to sustain the intervention. So this picture is just the launching of the implementation stage, which gather disabled people and over supporters within the public administration, private administration, etc. So up to the about 49 activities which has been selected, at the end of the implementation period, 41 activities has been completed. About 3 has not been completely completed, and 5 was not even started. And the reason is that it was not easy to, make appointment of some very important decision makers to start some negotiation and advocacy work. In terms of effectiveness, we continue the public awareness to regional radio to improve CAP and reduce socio-cultural barrier has been conducted. And they also conducted advocacy meeting that enabled to get 15 institutions having in the mandate support to disabled people engaged with the Association of Disabled People to address the need. And this is a process. They have already started working, and now they are moving through some follow-up activities. They also said a continuous registration system of people disabled by NTDs and their need, so that those needs could be presented to those in charge of addressing the need. And the organizational capacity of the association and affiliate association of disabled people has been strengthened through training and coaching. These are pictures of some key initiatives that the disabled people conducted themselves. The first picture is a radio station messages broadcasting through the regional radio in Blok, which is the capital of the region where the pilot initiative was conducted. The second is a signature of engagement by key stakeholders of the region. And the third was an advocacy meeting, which is conducted during the NTD World Day by the president of the Association of Disabled People. In terms of relevancy, the participatory approach used for the design, planning, and execution of the strategy contributed to align the project with all key stakeholder expectations and orientation, including including those coming from the disabled people themselves. So this is a quote from the president of the scientific committee who said that it is first of all the supervision of a project by the scientific committee that was our involvement since the intervention phase of the project. We must coordinate those activities and then bring together the scientific to make the different recommendations. So all along the project, the disabled people has been assisted by the scientific committee to guide them to the right direction in leading this project. In terms of coherence, they made sure that the project aligned with the NTD major guideline that the country has set to orientate the key stakeholder intervening in the sector, but also it was aligned with the disabled people needs. They are the one who has expressed very clearly their need. So this project then aligned with the NTD orientation, but also aligned to the disabled people need that has been put in several documents that they share during the development of the intervention. In terms of sustainability, what happened is that the regional unit which has conducted the project benefited several training that now enable them, to design, to implement, and even to approach an institution that can provide support to them and help them to address the need of those the disabled people that has been mentioned previously. So at the end of the implementation stage, we gather all the strategy, we gather all the documents, the processes that has been used to implement the project. And from there, we develop a toolkit for scaling up of the strategy through other region of the Côte d'Ivoire and even beyond Côte d'Ivoire. So this is briefly the toolkit content, which is made of 7 steps, starting from the selection of stakeholders until the final evaluation of the project. So in conclusion, we may say that effectiveness, relevancy, coherence, and sustainability of the strategy are satisfactory. The major challenges that we faced was the time and budget to continue the follow-up activities, and finally, leadership, ownership, and capacities of the execution of the strategy by people affected by an NTD were very satisfactory. And we may say that does the strategy answer the assumption that we have mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, which is engaging disabled people organization may improve in a sustainable manner effectiveness of response to the need. We may say yes, because majority of the relevant activity that has been selected has been implemented by them, and the results are very promising for the well-being of the people disabled by NTDs. So thank you very much. I would like to thank the Ministry of Health, the Leprosy Elimination Program and other NTD program in Côte d'Ivoire, Ephrem Mamo and FASI, which is a disabled organization which has supported the implementation of this initiative. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Julien. That was really interesting. If anybody has a question, please put it in the Q&A box. There's one already from Herman Joseph Kabuma. And Herman Joseph missed the part of the list of NTDs that are endemic in the project area, but was wondering whether these are evenly distributed. And as a follow-up question, do you intend to dissociate the cost effectiveness for the different NTDs as their individual relevance to the listed pillars is not the same?
Thank you very much. For the distribution of the disease in the region, I may say no, it is not distributed the same way in the region of Beke, but this is one of the most endemic areas of the country, having several NTDs endemic at the same time. And many interventions are going there, and this project gave us the opportunity to see even the outcome of the quality of the care provided to those people, and the fact that even if there is some existing facility which can support them, it has not been properly used by those people disabled by NTDs. Please, could you come again on the last question? The last one that you mentioned?
If you intend to dissociate the cost effectiveness for the different NTDs as their individual relevance to the listed pillars is not the same.
Actually, we didn't go deeper in providing responses to the need of the people disabled by NTD. This is an advocacy program. The major thing which has been done is to at least identify the institution which can provide support to the disabled people, that is first, and engage them to do so. So, I mean, the cost to be associated to those interventions may not come from the project itself, but will come from the institution because it is part of the mandate. But in terms of the, I mean, we have all the financial information that has been gathered during the implementation of the project, and that can be used, for example, to analyze in the second phase the cost effectiveness. But for this stage, we didn't take into account the cost effectiveness of the intervention. This is something that we didn't take into account.
Thank you for that. We have two other people who ask which NTDs are included. So maybe if I can kindly ask you to go back to the slide of the area, because there I know you listed the different NTDs that were included. And one of the questions Joseph Chukwu had is what types of disabilities did the NTD affected people have?
Thank you very much. I mean, this is the list of NTDs which are prevalent in the area, leprosy, which is causing a lot of retraction, amputation among people disabled by NTDs, similar to borreliosis, causing almost the same disability within those people. For lymphatic filariasis, we recorded cases of lymphedema and hydrocele, which need surgery. And for onco, we have some people with blindness. For schisto, because of the intervention of the program, we didn't see a lot of cases associating disabilities, but for yours, we had also some disability associated, so deformity, etc., within the population. For borreliosis, it affects mainly the younger people who are from below 15 years old, we have several cases of disability causing a lot of obstacle in access to education, etc.
Thank you so much. I think we have time for one more question, and we will refer the other people with questions to the chat, where maybe, Julien, you can answer the remainder of the questions there, if that's okay. So the last question for now is from Timia Pudnoki, who says, I'm not sure if I've missed it. When completing the needs assessment, was this done using interviews or a survey? And were any specific tools used for this?
It was a mixed survey, qualitative and quantitative. So, and the sample of people that has been involved in terms of disabled people, we had about 100 persons, and those people have been interviewed, but also they have been examined to see the kind of disability they are carrying. But also we have interviewed decision maker like a district manager and also program manager to, get to understand the knowledge in terms of CAP associated to the need of people disabled by NTDs, etc. So, to summarize, it was a mix, quantitative and qualitative assessment associated also to a desk review coming out to the report of a different program supporting NTDs in Côte.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation and answering the questions. We will move the remainder to the chat, and then I'll introduce the next speaker. Thank you, Julien. So our next speaker is one of our research capacity strengthening grantees, one of the two first. So it's really my pleasure to introduce Dr. Suraj Maharjan from the International Nepal Fellowship.
Thank you, Suzan. Thank you for the opportunity. The LRI. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, especially for the spring meeting, wonderful spring meeting and the workshop. It was really a blessed time in the Netherlands, and I'm very happy to see all my teammates here joining online, and also I'd like to welcome you all. Greetings from green pastures here in Pokhara, Nepal. As Suzan introduced, this is one of the young researchers capacity grant I received. I thank LRI for that, and and also thank you for selecting this as one of the highlights of spring meeting. The title of my project is called TAIL project. This is called Thermographic Assessment of Autonomic Impairment in Leprosy. And just moving on, I have contents of nerve function assessment, what is practiced, and introduction, background, methodology, subjects and research setup that we're doing, preliminary study and reliability test. I'll be showing a couple, and also plans in collaboration and discussion and way ahead. And I'm happy to be presenting from the research room, contributor from LRI, the project. What do you know about Hansen disease and what is commonly practiced? As we all know, the Hansen disease, the basic disease diagnosis is through the cardinal signs, hypoanesthetic patches, the enlarged nerves, and slit skin smear test. If not, then we go for skin or nerve biopsy. If not, PCR and other tests. Nerve functions are basically, we can divide into somatic, that's more sensory and motor, which is sensory, that's all dependent on patient's feedback and response. We all know that. And motor is also, it's more of patient dependent, and the examiner assessment and interpretation done by the examiner. And also another nerve function component in nerves that's affected with leprosy is autonomic, which is independent of patient examiner subjectivity. So we'd like to focus on the autonomic function of the peripheral nerves. Just go through introduction background. Early diagnosis in nerve function impairment of leprosy is the interesting topic. The number of patients with subclinical neuropathy might not be evident during the regular voluntary muscle tests and sensory testing. So as in 2008, Breakthrough and the studies showed nerve function impairment is present at diagnosis, which is a strong predictor. And they've done electrophysiological studies, which I have identified contacts with nerve conduction and autonomic nerve function, but no clinical symptoms. Same with Wagner study in 2017. Early diagnosis and preventive nerve damage is a challenge in leprosy, but despite the multiple tools being available and use of cardinal signs, the conclusion was that. So recently, in 2015, Cavallero did the study on infrared thermography in leprosy, and recently Sabino published a paper in Leprosy Review with thermography, and it has shown promising results in diabetic neuropathy. Couple of studies, and this impairment in skin temperature can be used as an assessment tool for diagnosing and following up autonomic nerve impairment. That's the conclusion. So these are a couple of methods that was done. 5 different tests with VibraTip, NeuroQuick, or NeuroPad, thermal sensitivity tester. So these were used before in one of the studies. So peripheral autonomic nerve dysfunction in asymptomatic leprosy contact. There was the study done in green pastures here where I'm standing right now, back in '96. So this is one of the base of our study. So there's early detection of neuropathy in leprosy. Another study where they've compared the picture I showed, the comparison of 5 tests for field setting, which never took off, and recently. The infrared thermography paper, which was published in the Leprosy Review Journal. So what was the research question and objective for this project? So patients in early phases of the disease might not show clinical signs and symptoms, but autonomic nerve impairment, can it be detected using infrared thermography? There was a question. So our general objective was to determine the value of infrared thermography in assessing nerve autonomic nerve function in newly diagnosed patients. And the clinical objective was to determine the functioning of autonomic nerve system and how it's related to sensory and motor nerve function, so which is measured by VMT and ST in newly diagnosed patients. So as you can see in this picture here, so we have a thermal camera on top, and Android phone. So I can show you this is how this big, the thermal camera, and regular Android phone, so which has an app which can record the image from the thermal camera. So in subsequent methodology, so what we are doing is we're trying training medical staff involved in patient care. So clinical examination we've done along with this thermal camera use in 2 sites of INF hospitals, one here in Green Pastures and one in the west of Nepal. These 2 hospitals are leprosy referral hospitals. So we'll be taking all newly diagnosed patients with consent. And there's, of course, inclusion-exclusion criteria. We'll go, we've taken 18 to 45 as our inclusion criteria age, and those not having diabetes or peripheral vascular diseases. And so what we've done, we will be using infrared thermography, the camera, and we'll be using another test, the vasomotor reflex test. That's done with, or we can call cold pressure test or cold challenge test, which I will show in next few slides. So what are the procedures? We'll be recruiting our patients, which is a heterogeneous population of newly diagnosed Hansen disease and healthy controls. That's we're hoping for 100 in each group, and it'll be a cross-sectional observational study for a year. And we'll be measuring skin temperature using the thermal camera. We'll be getting baseline temperature. Then we'll be doing the cold pressure test, and we'll monitor hands in a video with how it recovers. So with this pictures, you can show this hand that's spread out on a mold, and what's on top is a thermal camera, which is recording the video of these hand, temperature of the hand. So after that, a couple of seconds, then this will be immersed in a cold water that's 4 degrees Celsius. We immerse for a minute, and then again after a minute, then it'll be dried with a drying towel, and then again monitored. So this is how it looks. So recent pictures, pilot pictures, we can show that this is one of the leprosy diagnosed case where you can see the left side of the hand with the darkish pinky, where it shows as the temperature is diminished compared to the right, which is healthy. So this is a healthy subject with bilateral hands with good temperature. So after like dipping in a cold water, that's how it looks like for patient. It's all dark, similar to the healthy subject, which is all dark. So it's the vessels go into vasoconstriction, and slowly the recovery phase. It shows that the other fingers are recovered except for the pinky, which is still dark. And with healthy patient, it recovers well. It's all with warm temperature. So this is, I don't know if this works, but I'm going to show 2 videos of pilot tests. So this one on the left, I'm showing as I'm doing a filament test. This is a sensory test for all this patient. His motor test was okay, like VMTST. So he can feel he can say that's with even a tiniest filament, he can feel it everywhere. So in other video, as I show you, this is how it looks like when I just examine his hands. And if you can show closely, so his left hand, 3 fingers, pinky, 4th, and the middle finger, the temperature is diminished. So this was one of the early diagnosed leprosy case where I had to do a nerve biopsy, which proved that it was leprosy. On bottom, you can see this is the we are doing a repeatability test. So this is one of the patients who was also newly diagnosed. So I've done this test a day apart at the same time. So which you can, so this is just a picture, it's a complete video, but I'm just showing the picture of these 3, same patient done at this 1 day apart. So it shows a similar left hand with 3 dark fingers and the right hand with 1 dark pinky. So this is just a repeatability test. So this is the temperature response curve, as I can show you. The green one is the healthy subject, and the red one is the leprosy affected. So these temperatures high. So once you dip in a cold water, the temperature drops down, and so with time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, the healthy subject will peak up to the normal temperature. If you see the temperature recovery in patients, it takes slow and it takes long. So from here, what's our plan and collaboration? Which we have approval from the National Health and Research Council just recently, so we can totally move ahead now, recruiting patients. So we've done preliminary observation. We're still doing a couple of reliability tests and testing all the cameras and the phones. Looking for possible application, maybe in nerve surgery, nerve decompression, surgery, pre and post the recovery. So we're doing our team Zoom meetings and reports. So possible areas of future research can be to see the feasibility of IRT in clinical and community, majorly during contact examination. So it can be a useful complementary tool in in the assessment of nerve function changes. So this is this just showing the picture of the green pastures, how it looks like. I'm somewhere in a tiny room in this whole premises. This is how it looks like from green pastures, how you can see the mountain range. So what to just see the discussion and way forward, the limitations and challenges that we might face. This is very portable and it can be easily carried in the field. And results that it'll show is not dependent on patient or examiner, which is a good point. There might be some technical challenge in setup and recording. So again, training the technical details and protocols will be challenging as well. Yes, starting in two different hospitals. So learning from research so far, I've had opportunity to interact with experts and like-minded researchers. Of course, I'd like to acknowledge my whole team and especially the students from Delft who've done the technical side, and our prosthesis and orthotics who designed all this setup. These are my references, and thank you for listening. And this is our whole the team when we first started the meeting. And you should try the picture with thermography.
I have been informed that Dr. Suraj is back online, so I would like to ask him to answer some questions from the audience. The first question is from Nora Cardona Castro, who asks, what is the definition of autonomic nerve that you use in this study?
Sorry, I had a power cut here. Back. Autonomic definition of an autonomic nervous system for leprosy would be for us it's a three components of peripheral nervous system, which is somatic, and the other side which would just, for example, which would make you sweat, and which would help in temperature regulation of the vasculature of the hands. Of course, so definition of autonomic nervous system is one of the part where you call there are a number of fibers that are present in peripheral nervous system, where it is believed that the dryness of hands or the patient might complain of cold fingers. Sorry, I think I made it clear. For me, the definition, what I've learned from leprosy for the past 6 years would be, that's the definition I can give.
Thank you so much. The next question is from Herman Joseph Kawuma. Any interventions after reading the thermographic impairment, and with which results?
Any intervention, so what we're doing is actually just it's just a recording of the hand temperature. This recording hand temperature and dipping them in cold water and just again reading the temperature. That's all that we are doing, and we are analyzing these data, which we would be interested to see the pinky tip and the index, which would be the median nerve territory, and the ulnar nerve territory, which we believe ulnar nerve is the most affected nerve in upper extremity, where this nerve has both of the nerves has all three components, somatic as well as autonomic. So that's all we're doing.
Great, thank you. One of the next questions is from Joseph Chukwu. Can frontline health workers be trained to use the camera?
I think, yeah, this looks nice. This is really cool. And yeah, this can be easily trained, but yeah, it's this comes with different kind of pixels and different formats. But why we choose this is more, it's a mobile and you can carry in your pocket, or it can be joined in any of these Android smartphones. So yeah, this frontline health workers can be really trained how to use this. But again, the data they will collect have to be analyzed by an expert. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'll do 2 more questions live, and I would like to ask you to address the rest of the questions in the chat, if that's okay. One question from Stephen Adam Boateng. Does the temperature of the environment affect measurements by the thermal cameras?
Yeah, this has got a setting, and also we are doing this experiment just because we want to have a temperature regulated environment. So that's what we've done in a room temperature where it's around 23 to 25 degrees Celsius. And of course, for this study, we are using this temperature control environment. So as the study progresses, we can try in a I don't know, what's in a heat, maybe in Africa or in Nepal, where terrain it goes 40 degrees, 45 degrees. So yeah. So for now, we are doing in a temperature regulated room, a research lab. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last question live from Dr. Joy Fleming. Suraj, thank you for a great presentation. How early in the development of clinical symptoms are these thermal changes detectable?
I'm just speaking of my experience now. I think if it's really affected, then I've seen cases, a couple of cases, which is newly diagnosed cases, which has come. Was really curious about how it was, and bang, you just recording this camera, you show that, yeah. But if we had gone to a clinic and they've done this regular VMTST, they would say, oh, it's not leprosy. So yeah, that's what I've found. So it might be a couple of cases now, but let's see how it goes in a year. I'm very curious about using this in a bigger population and how we can early detect using this camera. But for now, yeah, we are using this for diagnosed case of leprosy, which is of course done with cardinal signs and or with a nerve biopsy, or yeah. So for now, we're doing in a diagnosed case of leprosy. So yeah, in the longer term, it can be just a screening test. It can be used as a screening test. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll move the rest of the questions to the chat. Thank you so much, Suraj, for your presentation. It's much appreciated. Ngozi is back online with a different connection this time, and we're going to try it again. One of the challenges of doing research globally, sometimes it's the connectivity issues, and we'll try to deal with it best we can. So, Ngozi, shall we give it another try?
Hi, Suzan. I hope you can hear me now. Good afternoon.
Very well, thank you.
Awesome. All right, good afternoon, everyone. I apologize for the network issues, and thank you, LRI team, for helping to share my screen. All right, so very quickly, I'll be giving a quick presentation on our project updates funded by LRI. The short title is Audio and Written Interventions to Improve the Perception of Leprosy. And I'm just going to be giving this presentation on behalf of my team. Next slide, please. Where you have the much longer title, it's actually participatory development of the audio delivered interventions and written material and assessments of their impact on perception and knowledge of and the attitudes towards leprosy. So it's a cluster randomized trial that is going on here now in Nigeria. I'm just going to use this content very quickly to run through my presentation. Next slide, please. So by way of introduction, stigma towards leprosy, quite frankly, is a complicated matter, from the individual's perspective, society's perspective, people's perceptions, about persons affected by leprosy and how it impacts everyday life, from social participation, access to, housing, education, name it, everything, even healthcare services. And this puts impairments, or what we call grade 2 disability, even worse. Essentially worsens, stigma and discrimination against persons affected by leprosy. And so we realize that in working towards zero discrimination and stigma, it's going to be important to actually have context-specific behavioral change interventions. And another thing that is of concern to us is the fact that leprosy, as with other NTDs, affects the lower bottom pyramid of the society. So the use of traditional health education materials, usually written, we kind of question, okay, how effective could this be? And is it possible that audio-delivered interventions could even have more impact? So in a nutshell, this study research question is simply asking, what's the impact of an audio-delivered intervention compared to written information on the perception of leprosy among community members in Nigeria? So next slide, please. And for this, there are actually three specific study objectives. This presentation is going to be speaking to just the first one, which is to investigate the perception, and by that we mean the local beliefs, knowledge, attitudes of community members towards leprosy and persons affected by leprosy. Next slide, please. So just by way of an overview of the methodology, I already said the study is happening in Nigeria, but actually Nigeria is a very giant of Africa. So there are a whole lot of differences between the northern part of the country and the southern part of the country. So for this project, it's happening as a mirror image of each other. Up north, in Taraba State is where it's happening up north, and then in the south, Cross River State. And there's actually 3 local government areas all the way down to the community members. And there is a 3-arm cluster randomized trial where one arm receives the audio intervention, the other arm receives the written intervention, and then there's a control LGA, local government area, with no intervention. And these local governments were selected all far apart such that there shouldn't be any interference or contamination across the populations. We're looking at a minimum sample size of 770 people. Or respondents were randomly selected. And as part of this study also, there's a cross-sectional component where we had the participatory co-creation for the development of the study intervention materials, working directly with persons affected by leprosy. Next slide, please. I'll speak to this in a bit. Next slide, please. You have a plethora of study tools. So we are using the KAP, knowledge, attitudes, and practices measure. There's the MECSS, the social distance scale, the Rosenberg stigma self-esteem scale to assess internalized stigma of persons affected, and then leprosy adapted internalized stigma scale of mental illness scale. So what we did in this study is, as part of this study, we also had to do a cross-cultural validation of these tools in the Hausa and the Nigerian Pidgin English language. These are the languages we are using as per local dialects, in the communities where this study is going on. We sent out manuscripts based on our findings for publication. Ethical approval for this study was received from the Health Research and Ethics Committee of the University of Nigerian Teaching Hospital, as well as approvals from the 2 respective Ministry of Health, the states. And the trial was registered with the Pan-African Clinical Trials. And earlier this year, we did publish the study protocol for this study. So next slide, please. So I'm just going to very quickly give just through a spotlight on the results from our baseline findings so far. We had a total of 811 respondents who we surveyed for the questionnaires. And then we conducted 18 interviews and 24 focus group discussion sessions. And for our respondents, they were mostly males, mean age of about 38 years, mostly married. The majority of them had formal education over at least for post-6 basic years education, mainly rural dwellers, mostly self-employed, and understandably earning less than 30,000 naira, roughly somewhere around $60 per month. We did notice the key findings that came out from what we've done so far is that about half of the respondents showed poor knowledge of leprosy. I remember I should have mentioned this earlier. This location where the study is going on are actually endemic locations where leprosy is currently endemic in Nigeria. So it is striking to us that about half of the population, half of our respondents in this area actually have a poor knowledge of leprosy. The MECSS for MECSS, that's the exploratory explanatory model interview catalog community stigma scale. Basically, we had a score, average score of 18.96 with a range of 7.3, and social distance scale of 9.37, 9.39, I beg your pardon. And all of these are indicative of some high stigma of the community. Sorry, next slide, please. Yeah, and things that we did identify is that social demographic factors, key things like age, the location, that's rural residents, the educational level, and all of these had impact on the knowledge of leprosy. Knowledge of leprosy had impact on persons, the responses to their stigma level, perceived stigma against persons affected by leprosy, and realized that the core drivers of this stigma came down to mostly cultural beliefs, the fear of contagion, ignorance about the mode of transmission, and the early symptoms of leprosy. And to speak to this more, next slide, please. From the interview, I just a few quotes from the focus group discussion. So, for instance, one of the respondents said that leprosy is in the blood and also inherited from parents and great-grandparents, so it's easily transmittable when someone in your lineage has the disease. The other person said, some community members think that leprosy is a curse, the result of one sin. People think anybody who is affected by disease is a result of insane. And we had several recurrent things like this. Somebody else, for instance, said there's lots of stigmatization from community members because of this sickness. I have serious challenges with people in my business. People are not coming to buy from me and they're running from me. This by a female person affected. So for time's sake, I won't just show me the next slide, please, just for time's sake. But the point is, there's a lot of persons affected, really do face challenge of disclosure and even some level of social exclusion. So next slide, please. So for the participatory co-creation phase, which I spoke to earlier, so what we did was, as part of this study, based on the findings from the baseline study, what we did was to work with persons affected by leprosy, and about 20 of them in total. And we did conduct this cross-sectional components where alongside with them, we generated or created the contents of the intervention materials, which are some of the materials you can see on the screen. So it came out as the audio. So one arm, exactly the same content, one arm gets to receive the audio and the other gets to receive the written content. And for our third objective, we'll be assessing this impact on persons affected. So I'm just going to allow like 30 seconds so you could hear the audio clip of it.
Country people, una know say leprosy still there. Leprosy dey o, and even get cure. E no be killer disease. Na bacteria wey be germ wey dey for air when person cough or sneeze. Na im dey cause am. But make I tell you, you go don stay long time around the person before you fit catch am, sha. No be cause witchcraft, bad blood, or even unclean environment dey cause am o. You no fit get am through touching body, sharing of items, handshake, eating, or sleeping together. Even mama no dey give am to im pikin. No be because you do bad thing go make you get leprosy.
All right, so that's just a tiny little bit of the clip from the Nigerian Pidgin English version. I figured more of our audience will hear that compared to the Hausa version of it. So yeah, next slide, please. Picture here, so the audio receives the solar-powered MP3 players, and then the written receives, leaflets, flyers. And so this is basically where we are now by way of our timeline on this study. We've currently commenced the implementation of this study intervention materials, as you just saw in that picture. And we're looking forward to 6 months time, well, after 6 months, basically in about 2-3 months time now, we're going to be collecting the post-intervention data to evaluate the impact of this intervention. Conclusion, what we have found so far is that there is indeed very concerning poor knowledge and high levels of community stigma towards leprosy or persons affected by leprosy, and particularly is of concern because these are endemic areas where you would think that over the years, with all the work that has gone into leprosy, people would have probably been well informed. And particularly because they are driven by cultural beliefs, and local perceptions, and significant predictors of this comes down to the knowledge gaps, and social demographic factors that's contributing to these knowledge gaps and heightened stigma levels. And so really it does emphasize the fact that targeted cultural-specific, possibly even community-based health intervention materials or promotional interventions needs to be done to address some of these identified determinants, so that we can actually work towards achieving zero stigma and discrimination in these communities. And then furthermore, it's possible too that it's understandable that the medium may just be as crucial as the message, so of course it's a bit too early to conclude right now, so we look forward to findings from the post-intervention study. So with this, I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you particularly to our funders, the LRI, to the rest of our partners, LTR, NLR, and JLRs. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Ngozi, for a great presentation. I can imagine there are a few questions from the audience. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box and we'll see them pop up. We can answer them live. As I don't have a question yet, maybe one from our side. What have been the major challenges in setting up or conducting this research project, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, thank you so much, Suzan. So I think the key, some of the challenges that we've experienced, and particularly because of the nature of the study, what we're really trying to address here is a really practical aspect of addressing stigma. We traditionally do health education in traditional way using written materials, and we're really just trying to assess, okay, based on the category of people we are trying to reach out, and it's beyond just knowledge here. We are trying to assess, perception. We are trying to actually change behavior, so, to what degree can this really have impact? You compare it to other modes of communication in the community. So having to navigate all of that was, some of the things that we needed to walk through. Then the participatory development part, I think it was really important. We had to make it a participatory thing because involving both persons affected by leprosy, involving some community members, involving program staff as well, because these are different stakeholders that are all relevant. We didn't just want to come up with something and then do the same thing we've probably been doing before and we are still seeing the same results. But like I said, these are endemic areas where you would think that at the least, they would probably know more because they've seen it over the years. But yeah, so
Thank you so much. Maybe just to follow up on that, the meaningful involvement of persons affected by NTDs in research projects. If you had to give advice to other researchers who want to make sure these people are involved, what would you advise them? When to include them? How to best include them?
Yeah, thank you so much, Suzan, for that question. I really do appreciate that question. I think it's really important and something what's even throwing a little bit more light on, because quite frankly, participation in research, especially for persons affected, particularly for something like leprosy that is beyond just the impact of the disease itself, the biomedical components to, everyday life and lots of social aspects of it. I think it's really important to involve them practically through all parts of the study, quite frankly, especially from the beginning. You want to first of all address what are the issues that are particular. What do they even consider is important, first of all. For instance, some of the quotes, one of the ones I read, for instance, talked about basics, about even being able to trade in the community, people even being able to purchase from the person and stuff like that. So I think participation, it's something really key that should happen probably across all aspects of the research, all the way from the beginning. You could even have them as co-researchers as well, not just to actually ask them questions, but they should be able to even set agenda and generate what the priority should actually be. I think that's a really important component. There's the popular saying where they say nothing about us without us. I think it does apply here, quite frankly. Thank you.
Thank you. We received a question from Joseph Chukwu. Does the project plan measure the impact on stigma level post-intervention?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Yes, we absolutely plan to. Yes. We hope that we're given a 6 months timeline, just so that we can really be sure that the difference, we can attribute whatever difference pre the intervention and post intervention to the actual intervention that we conducted, whether the audio and the written arm. And what we hope to do is to compare the effects, whether the audio, to what degree is there a difference in the audio arm, to what degree is there a difference in the written arm, and even compare between the audio versus the written and see possibly which one had more effects and which one had more impact. So yes.
Thank you so much. Ngozi Ake and Chinwe Eze say well done. Beautiful presentation, excellent and highly relevant concept. Congratulations. If there are no further other questions from the audience, I would like to thank you so much, Ngozi, for your presentation. If there are any other questions coming in, we will put them in the chat and we'll ask you to answer them there.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone for the kind comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next presentation is a video presentation from Dr. David Blok and Dr. Raheema Abdul Rahim from Erasmus Medical Center and from the Maldives on endgame strategy for leprosy in the Maldives.
Good afternoon. My name is David Blok from Erasmus Medical Center in the Netherlands, and also on behalf of Dr. Raheema Abdul Rahim from the National University of the Maldives, I'm presenting the results of our project called Endgame Strategy for Leprosy in the Maldives. The first records of leprosy patients in the Maldives were found in the 1920s. These patients were detected in 4 islands, Kafue Alif and the Kafue Atolls. In 1959, the government allotted 2 islands with treatment services and other facilities, 1 for women and 1 for men. By 1974, the National Leprosy Control Program was initiated, a prevalence of about 70 per 10,000 population. In 1982, MDT was initiated. The prevalence back then was around 100 per 10,000 population. Free treatment was provided for locals and expatriates, and 100% MDT coverage was achieved. In 1997, the Maldives achieved elimination as a public health problem. Working towards zero leprosy and elimination of disease by 2030 is now the goal of the Maldives. Currently, the Maldives have seen less than 10 new cases of leprosy annually. No child cases were found since 2017, and last year in 2023, the WHO has certified Maldives as the first country in the region to have achieved interruption of transmission according to their new guideline. However, an in-depth description of the leprosy situation is missing in the Maldives, and hopefully will assist to provide insights about the actual current situation, what worked in the past, and what is needed to sustain progression towards interruption of transmission and finally elimination of disease in the Maldives. The objectives of this study are twofold. First of all, to understand and describe in the current and past leprosy epidemiology in the Maldives, and secondly, to determine an optimal endgame strategy for the Maldives. We will analyze leprosy register data from 1959 to which included variables such as age, sex, nationality, island, year of diagnosis, clinical type, and mode of detection. We applied geospatial mapping of the island to visualize the geographical distribution of leprosy cases in the Maldives. And finally, we will use mathematical modeling to assess the impact of various endgame strategies in the Maldives. The trend in number of new cases and incidence rate in the Maldives from 1959 to 2022 is shown in the figure on the left. As you can see that the incidence in the early years, in the early decades, when registration started, has increased a lot as in many countries in the world. The incidence rate was 300 per 100,000 during the 70s and afterwards dropped tremendously to a half per 100,000 in the 2020. If we focus on the age-specific incidence rate of leprosy in the same period, we can conclude that from 1990 1981 onwards, the incidence rate decreased gradually in all age groups, showed by the colored lines in the left figure. What we also see is that from 2011, peak age shift to the right. This is more clearly shown on the left, on the figure on this slide on the left. Generally, the mean age was around 30 years old in the Maldives. However, in 2011 to 2022, the last decade, the average age shifted to around 40 years, indicating a slight shift to older ages. Also, we can see the child cases have declined considerably in the last decades. Only 4 child cases were detected since 2011, and no child cases were found since 2017. When we focus on the proportion of multibacillary and polybacillary leprosy cases, we can see before 2010 the majority were TB cases. From 2011 to 2022, we see that the proportions of MB cases increase, which aligns with the notion of a declining trend, because MB cases typically have a longer incubation time. When we focus on the geographical distribution of leprosy cases in the Maldives, we can clearly see that in the 1970s, leprosy cases were found everywhere in the country. Every atoll and were highly endemic for leprosy. What we can also see in these figures is that over the decades, we see a tremendous improvement. The number of cases declined, and in the last decade, the most right figure, we can see that almost all areas are considered either zero or low endemic. So we applied mathematical modeling to determine optimal endgame strategies for the Maldives. In panel A of this figure, we see the prediction of new cases under the current control. We can conclude that the current control in the Maldives is sufficient to further decline the number of new cases towards zero. We also assess whether implementing additional interventions such as household contact tracing or household contact tracing with SDR could provide additional benefit. We see that using household contact tracing only, we could prevent case on average, while also adding single dose of rifampicin to the intervention. This would prevent 3 cases on average. We also saw that there was no additional benefit of screening with or without SDR beyond household contacts. We also assessed the probability of 0 new child cases using mathematical modeling. On the left-hand side, we see the probability, and this probability of 0 new child cases has been higher than 70% and is increasing by year. So based on insights from mathematical modeling, we could conclude that transmission is likely to be interrupted in the Maldives. So in the Maldives, there's evidence for decline in M-leopard transmission. We see no new child cases anymore since 2017, and we see a higher proportion of MB cases. Also, modeling highlights high probability of 0 new child cases. When we assess endgame strategies for the Maldives, we see that typically in this low endemic setting, the current strategy would suffice to grow towards elimination of disease. One of the reasons for this is that the Maldives has a very strong health system and a very good referral system. And MDT is provided freely for everyone, so both the locals as the expatriates. We also saw that adding contact tracing with or without SDR would prevent a number of cases over time, although the general number of cases is already very low. I would like to acknowledge the Maldives National University as a collaborator in this project, but also the Health Protection Agency as part of the Ministry of Health and the World Health Organization. This project was a collaboration between these groups, and insights of this study has been reported directly to the HPA to provide insights for their framework on zero leprosy. We also acknowledge the funding by the Leprosy Research Initiative and the Turing Foundation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for David and Raheema to prepare this presentation. The last project presentation is by Mr. Ephrem Mamo Gebrehiwot, and he will be presenting on the PEP4Lab project. Ephrem, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm Ephrem Mamo from Arman Hansen's Research Institute of Ethiopia. I'm a PhD student in Addis Ababa University. I am going to present the PEP4Lab study finding, the preliminary finding. The study was a post-exposure chemoprophylaxis for leprosy. It is comparing the two interventions. One is a skin camp intervention, and the other one is a health center-based intervention in terms of effectiveness and feasibility. Our rationale of the study is, as we know, we are giving for leprosy patient contacts, and it is around 60% effectiveness, and it also go beyond 60%. It is around 80% when it is combined with BCG vaccine, and in 2018, WHO also included us in the guideline, in 2018 guidelines. But there is no studies, or more studies are needed on effectiveness and the feasibility of how to distribute. There are some studies conducted in Asian countries. There are some studies conducted in Asian countries, but there is no studies conducted in African context or in African countries. So this study are conducting in 3 African countries, and also integration was promoted by WHO roadmap. So in our study, we are going to assess the feasibility and the cost effectiveness of the integration of leprosy with other skin diseases, and also we are going to assess the involvement of community contacts while not sharing the disease status of the index patient to avoid stigma or not. Our study design is a clustered randomized implementation trials. We have 2 intervention groups. Intervention 1 is the skin camp approach, that is a screening of around 20 index patients. 20 nearest household member of the index patient, around 100 contact will be screened for leprosy and other skin diseases, and when they are eligible, we provide a single dose rifampicin. And the other group of is intervention 2, screening of the household contact of the index patient by inviting at a health center level and screened for leprosy and other skin diseases, and providing of single dose rifampicin when they are eligible. In both intervention, we used an integrated skin screening of leprosy contacts. When you say skin camp, it is an event that brings dermatology care close to the community. It is conducted by collaboration with community leaders, volunteers, focal persons of leprosy focal persons, and others who are involved in this in the skin camp, and at least one dermatologist and the experienced medical specialist who was participated in the skin camp, and no need of leprosy index patient to share the disease status with the community. This is very important for minimizing or prevention of a stigma. And then for those who are screened for leprosy and other skin diseases, when they are eligible, we provide a single dose will provide free topical skin medication, and also for those who need a referral, will provide referral forms to the nearest facility. This is how to, the figures shows how to recruit the study participant, how to recruit in the skin camp approach and in the health center based approach. We plan to include nearly 30,000 contacts, but due to experience due to having a delay of COVID-19, we are delayed to include these 30,000 contacts. Our objective have primary and secondary objectives. Our primary objective is assessing the effectiveness. We assess the effectiveness in terms of case detection rate, in terms of case detection delay, the delay between the baseline, the intervention 1 and the intervention 2. And also we assess the feasibility in terms of cost effectiveness and the acceptability of single dose rifampicin as a post-exposure prophylaxis as a primary objectives. And also as a secondary objectives, we used as assessing the acceptability of the integrated skin screening. Skin up. And also we assessed health workers' capacity, the health workers' capacity during implementation, before the training, after the training, and during the middle of the implementation. Our preliminary findings shows that in the skin camp till March 2024, we included 110 index patients. That means from one in skin camp. That means 106 per skin camp. It is large in numbers. And contact received as a single dose rifampicin for the contact was 90% in the skin camp, and no one refused to take single dose rifampicin in intervention 1. In intervention 2, we screened, up to now we included 374 index patients and screened 1,352. That means it is 3.6 per index patient. It is below our plan, and we assume to but we included 3.6, and contact received in intervention 1 is 96%, and 2 individuals have refused to take single dose rifampicin in intervention 2. This is to show the in intervention 1 up to now we included 90% of index patient and 70.4% of contact in intervention 1 or skin camp, and 92.3% in index patient, and 55.6% of contact were screened in intervention 2. That is few in numbers due to the average number of household per index patient. This is a screening result of the 2 intervention. Next, please. Next. Yeah. From 90,019 contact screened in intervention 1, 51.7% were diagnosed at least 1 skin disease in intervention 1, and 18.6% of contact were diagnosed with at least 1 disease in intervention 2, and in leprosy case, that is a case detection rate of 1.2. When you see the intervention 2, we screened, we diagnosed 37 newly diagnosed leprosy patients with a case detection rate of 2.7. And when you see the grade 2 disability, it is high in intervention 1, which is 4.7. And children less than 15 years were 11.2% were diagnosed with intervention 1, and at 13. There is an ongoing transmission of leprosy in the study area, in the pay-for-lep study area. This is to show some pictures about skin disease diagnosed in pay-for-lep study. We diagnosed different skin diseases, including neglected tropical disease like rhomboblastomycosis, leprosy, lymphatic filariasis, onchocerciasis, including scabies were diagnosed in the 3 study areas. Thank you. Next one. We are also assessing the capacity of healthcare workers. One of our objectives, secondary objective, is capacity building of the healthcare workers in the study area. At the same time, assessing the capacity of the healthcare workers at 3 points: before the training, after the training, and at the middle of the implementation. And up to now, we included 503 healthcare workers who were trained for how to diagnose leprosy and how to screen leprosy and how to provide single NLR skin up. And for 195 healthcare workers were enrolled in capacity assessment result, in capacity assessment, and our results were expected soon. Next, please. We have faced some challenges while conducting our study. One of some delays was due to this heavy rain. There is also turnover of healthcare workers, which is mainly affect our study because when we see the capacity assessment of 1 and the capacity assessment 2, when compared with the third capacity assessment, the number of healthcare workers were very low in capacity assessment. Third capacity assessment, this shows that the turnover of healthcare workers is high in the study area, and also low number of index patients, especially in Ethiopia, per household contact in the intervention to also another challenge that we faced. COVID-19, obviously, it has affect our study, that delays to recruit the study participant, and also medication shortage. As far as now, we have some important success, and one of our success is high number of contacts were screened and received single dose rifampicin, especially in the skin camp approach, and no refusal of taking single dose rifampicin were seen in the skin camp approach, and only less than 1% in the health center approach was refused to take single dose rifampicin. This is a great achievement. And also we have diagnosed more than 50% of contacts were diagnosed with at least 1 skin disease in the skin camp, and greater than 1% of new leprosy patients were detected in this approach. And also we are now conducting qualitative study and cost effectiveness studies. Next, please. So we have dissemination of different research in different methods, like we up to now published in 2024, and also one more article also accepted in PLOS NTD in the same year. and one additional was submitted. And also the PhD students are shared this finding in different conferences and workshops. Next, please. The P4Lab also developed a skin game for healthcare workers. This is very important to how to learn this leprosy skin disease by simply playing of game. You can go. You can get this one in www.info.ntd.org. It is a free download. Next, please. And also the NLR skin app was validated and updated. And now it is merged into the WHO Skin NTD app. Next, please. The P4Lab standard operating procedures, especially on the skin camp organizations, and are now open access. It is available in www.inforlab.org. You can find it in this one. It is also free one. Next, please. Finally, we have also get a grant objectives. One is to overcoming the COVID-19 project impact by adding the 25% of the sample size. So for the next 2 years, we will add 25% of the previous sample size. And also we are assessing the impact of COVID-19 on P4Lab as well as on leprosy control program in the 3 study areas, also our objectives. And additionally, modeling on cost effectiveness will be done by Erasmus University or College. Finally, I would like to thank our funders, EDCTP, LRI, and also I would like to acknowledge patient contact, healthcare workers, and all the concerned team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ephrem. That was really great. We have a few questions in the Q&A from Anik Monjo. In P4Lab, are the contacts of the persons included geographically determined according to the residence of the cases?
Yeah,
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
The contact was, it is a randomized implementation trials, and it is based on the health centers. We are located. The randomization was done at health center level. For example, in Ethiopia, we are conducting the study in 3 districts. And in these 3 districts, there are 21 health centers. These 21 health centers are allocated randomly in the 2 intervention groups. That means in the health center groups and in the skin camp group. So it is not directly geographically. It is a randomization by health center based.
Thank you. Anik had another question for you. What about drugs provided for common skin conditions in both interventions? Which percentage of non-skin NTDs affected people have received a specific or symptomatic adequate treatment?
Sorry for the...
Could you tell us a little bit more about the treatment for other common skin diseases aside from leprosy, but also if there were any non-skin NTDs diseases treated, and have they received specific or symptomatic adequate treatment?
Yeah, in our standard operating procedures, we only provide a skin medication that is specifically it is not allowed to give oral medication. We only provide like topical medications. So for those who are diagnosed with leprosy, will be referred. For those who are diagnosed especially we provided skin medication for large number of scabies patients, especially in NTD. We provided topical medication for scabies cases. In our scenario in Ethiopia, we have found an outbreak of scabies in one of our study districts, and we provided that skin medication for large population, for large group of contact having of scabies.
Great, thank you so much. We will answer one more question live, and I'll ask you to answer the remaining questions in the chat, please. Noel Gill asks, if the intention of PEP is to reduce secondary leprosy cases, how are index cases, co-primary and secondary cases defined within the study?
Okay, in PEP4LEP study, we only include a primary index patient. Diagnosed in PEP4LEP study is not considered as a primary index patient, and we are not conduct skin camp or skin camp for those who have for the secondary index patients. Only we conduct a skin camp for the primary index patient. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your presentation. If any other questions come up, we will answer them in the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzan. Thank you.
That finalizes our project progress presentations, but we would like to finish this event with a presentation from one of our valued collaborators, Dr. Christine Fenenga. Thank you so much in advance.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and also to have us presenting at the moment as one of the highlights. I give you a short presentation also on capacity strengthening through knowledge sharing and blended e-learning, and I do this also on behalf of Roos Geutjes. She is the coordinator of the InfoLab and InfoNTD, and I'm the coordinator of the Lift Leprosy Learning project, which includes also the e-learning InfoNTD. So the needs for capacity strengthening is quite clear. You can also see this also in the iLab strategy from 2021-2025, but also in the WHO guidelines, in the roadmap, and also in their strategic framework. As well also, of course, in the LRI, where they even had a special call for proposals for young researchers to develop their capacity. So this is a slide of the InfoLab and InfoNTD, and the aim of these platforms is to strengthen the capacity of researchers and program managers and policy advisors, and other NTD professionals. And here you can see the data from 2023, where you can also see that they have a lot of unique website users of 50,000. It's globally used in 200 countries, and especially the InfoLab has quite a lot of resources, and the InfoNTD is also growing in size. This is the portal where you can get to if you look at the InfoLab, and you can see also that they have a very good search function in it, which you can see on the top. And you can also see that you can use different languages for this. There's about 80 different languages which you can use. And you can also see the different function buttons, where you can find all kinds of materials which you would require. So what can InfoLab and InfoNTD offer you? They can also provide you free full text delivery. That means also if you cannot get access through a university or whatever, you can ask them a full copy of it. You can get assistance with the literature search. You can also, as a researcher, also share your content. So if you have done a study and you want to share the results and make it available for a wide audience, you can also send this to InfoLab or InfoNTD, and they will provide that. Then you can subscribe for monthly overviews, and you can also follow the InfoLab and InfoNTD developments through LinkedIn and Twitter. Now they have been continuously developing this platform, and as you can get now tools and publications, but also training guides. And since 2024, you can also get e-learning modules, which are currently under development. It's promoting also active learning and skills development, so it's very much interactive. And it links also with other online courses, which is also very useful because sometimes certain topics are also provided by other platforms. Now, the e-learning InfoNTD is developed also in collaboration with Lift Leprosy Learning Project, a project which is kind of initiated by iLab and a number of iLab partners, and with InfoNTD. And we're working closely together also with OpenWHO, who's also providing courses, and with Healthy Foundation, which is an organization with a lot of experience in e-learning, and which is also providing very good guidance in this. So the launch will be, the official launch will be at the NNN meeting this year. If you look at the strategy, I just give you a few small features. It has a clear focus. We also want to focus on a few countries, a clear target audience, because the frontline workers are for us the main source, but we also look at other audiences. Then there is a joint planning and development with the local organizations, international, but also a national organization, and it's specifically also to contextualize the courses and to align with the local accreditation systems. We want also to work together with a pool of experts to make sure that the quality of the materials is of high standard. We want to also spread it through our networks and advocate for it. We want also to build evidence. And one of the projects we are recently starting with is the Capable Research Project, which is looking at the effects of online and blended online learning. And we're also using an open access and user-friendly learning management system. So it's quite easy to follow these courses. This is the openings page. When you look at e-learning InfoNTD, you can see already that there are two courses. There is the Science, Writing and Dissemination of Research course, and there is the Stigma and Mental Wellbeing course. Both of them have been piloted, and the Stigma and Mental Wellbeing course will start again on the 18th of June. These are blended courses. It means also that we are not only providing e-learning, but it's also in combination with a workshop, and that can be face-to-face or online. On the right side, you can see all the features of this online learning. It's interactive. It's going a little bit too fast. Interactive, blended. You can use it on mobile and on desktop. You can have it online and offline in use, and you get a certificate also after completion. So these are the courses which we are working on, the Stigma, Mental Wellbeing and the Scientific Writing course you've seen already. We're working on an SDR PEP course, on a reactions course, leprosy elimination framework course, eye care course, and probably also more. It depends also on the funding which we are getting. There's also a plan for a mapping course. You can see that most of them are blended. You can see that the request is really made also from the countries. And on the right side, you can see also when they are expected to be ready. So there's quite a lot going on. Blended and scientific writing course, I mentioned it already. The scientific writing course is developed in collaboration with LRI, because we also feel that for research, it's also very important that people get sufficient support. And recently, we also had a scientific writing course with a write shop, and some of you have participated in this. So another course will be given also later this year, and we will announce this also on the platform. So I just want to give you a very short demo. My colleague Rose has been making this, so it gives you a very brief overview of how the course looks like.
Welcome to elearning.info-ntd.org, the online learning platform that will be connected to InfoNTD. So you are now looking at the homepage, and on the top right corner you can see that I'm currently logged on. When you scroll down, you will find an About section that shares more information about the initiative and also the announcement that we are currently setting up this website and are planning to officially launch later this year. At the moment, there are 2 courses available: the Stigma and Mental Wellbeing course, which consists of 4 modules, and the 4th module has been made available upon registration to the website. So feel free to have a look. And then there's the scientific writing for dissemination of research results. I'll now start the course. And on top there is the introduction. It shares a little bit for who this course is intended. It's for researchers that are at the early stages of their research career. And also here at the bottom you can find the credits to the people or organizations who have developed this course. Then the structure of the course shares more information about the structure within the course, but also within the modules. So before you can start with the modules, there's 4 in total. A pre-test needs to be taken. And after completion of the 4th and last module, there is a post-test, which requires a minimum grade of 70% within 3 attempts. After successful completion, there is a course evaluation form that needs to be filled out, and then a certificate of completion will be granted. So I'm now opening module 1. I will just briefly scroll through the content so you have an idea how the course looks like. All the modules start with an introduction and also objectives, learning objectives. So this is chapter 1. And throughout the course, different types of content have been used: video, audio, text, games, links to external reading, making it a very interactive course. So it's very easy to just scroll through the content, as you can see. And now the screen is recording from a laptop, but also by using the Moodle mobile app, it's very easy and intuitive to go through the course. So this is a blended course. So the 4 modules are estimated to take between 8 and 10 hours to complete. And then in addition to that, there's a workshop that will take 4 to 5 days with the support of supervisors to complete the full course. So hopefully this has given you a good idea of how the website looks like. And let us know if you have any questions or suggestions.
Yes. So this is what I wanted to present. So if you have any questions, then please let me know.
Thank you so much, Christine. We really appreciated working together, also developing this course on scientific writing. If anybody has a question for Christine, please put them in the Q&A and we will convey them to her and she can get back to you after the event. We're already run out of time, so I just wanted to do a brief closing. Firstly, I want to say many thanks to all the participants for joining this highlights of the LRI Spring Meeting event today. We really hope you enjoyed. As mentioned in the chat, we will share the recording shortly. And a big thank you to the researchers who presented their projects today and to all LRI-funded researchers across disciplines and countries for your great work. We look forward to continue to supporting you. And if you would like to know more about LRI, please visit our website, www.leprosyresearch.org. If you would like to stay updated, you can sign up for the newsletter there, or you can follow our LinkedIn channel, to which I've put the link in the chat as well. And if you have any specific questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at info@leprosyresearch.org. Thank you all so much for being here today, and we hope to stay in touch. Thank you.